Welcome, Kara, here at Techorama. Can you please introduce yourself a little bit more to the crowd?
Yeah, so I'm Kara. I'm based in the United States in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a UI engineer at CrowdStrike. We are a cybersecurity company.
Why, cybersecurity? And what is cybersecurity doing here at Techorama?
Well, I mainly focus, like I said, I'm a UI engineer, so I'm a front-end engineer. I know there's not a ton of front-end talks here, but it's nice to bring my little insight into the front-end world to Techorama.
Okay, and so you did a talk about this. Can you tell a little bit more about your talk? You already did the talk?
Yeah, so I had a talk yesterday and a talk today. My first talk was talking about just the basics of CSS Grid and kind of what you need to know from the start of it, because there's a lot to know. And then my talk today was about pull requests, how to optimize your PRs, because they're an important process, or important part of the development process.
Wow. I'm really sorry I missed that one, because we're using pull requests as well in our project. So
Yeah.
what is the biggest highlight from your talk? What did you want to give to the people?
The biggest thing for me is just making sure, or knowing that the people looking at your PRs don't necessarily have the same knowledge as you do about the code you've written, or even the part of the code that you're working in. So being the author of that PR, you want to make sure that everything is laid out on the table for them. You want the testing steps, why you made that change, anything that needs to be done down the line, just laying it all out on the table for them so they know exactly what they're looking at and what's to come in the future.
And where do you do that? Do you do that in the description, or do you do that in the code itself, or what position do you use to line that out?
Definitely the description is where you want to put the bulk of that information of like what you did, why you did it, and kind of how to test. And then my biggest thing that I always say is to be your own reviewer before you add your reviewers to your PR. So going through and basically looking through your own code and commenting on it like you were a reviewer, just to kind of, if you have an area of the code where you're a little iffy about what you did, just kind of bringing attention to it, kind of getting people's thoughts and opinions on it, or calling out a particular reason why you chose to do something a certain way.
Really nice. I've got a personal question about pull requests.
Yeah.
Now it's my opportunity. So we sometimes have code that's generated, in this case by Unity. What do you think? Should that be part of a pull request or not? Because Unity generates masses of lines of code, and not all as readable as written codes by yourself. What do you think is the best way to use this in pull requests?
Yeah, I think if you have that auto-generated code, which we have a lot of that as well, like when we're starting a new application, that should be its own pull request. Don't add whatever feature you're adding on top of that. Really make that auto-generated code its own PR, and kind of preface that in the description being like, hey, this is auto-generated. I know it's a lot of code. Please skim through it just to make sure everything that's there is supposed to be there, but just kind of letting your reviewers know that, yeah, this is a lot of code, but it was already written up for me, and they don't have to go as in depth with everything.
Well, that's a very good suggestion. I will bring that to the job tomorrow. Well, is this your first time at Techorama?
It is my first time at Techorama. It's been amazing so far.
Okay. And what do you think of that's the most that stood out from Techorama from other conferences you've been to?
I just think that the overall experience has been amazing. You know, I walked in and conferences, you know, you walk in and there's all the Vegas theming everywhere. Everybody's been so open and so nice, and especially the venue itself. Walking into that room for the first time to give my talk, and I saw the giant screen, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So it's been a wonderful experience.
Well, you already said it. It's Las Vegas theming here. There are rumors going around that Elvis is somewhere here, spotted here. Did you spot him?
I haven't spotted him yet, so I'll have to keep an eye out.
When you do see him, send him over to us.
For sure, I will.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been great.
Welcome. Good afternoon, Gianluca. First of all, please introduce yourself. Who are you? Where you're from? Tell us.
Okay, my name is Gianluca Sartori. I'm from Italy. I work as a data dude, as you said, working with databases, especially SQL Server databases. So it's the data platform in the Microsoft space.
Wow, and is it your first time at Techorama?
I've been here before. I think it was in 2019, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm enjoying it this time as well.
And you are already saying you're a data dude. There are a lot of developer topics here in Techorama. Tell us about what you're telling the crowd later on today.
Speaking about time series databases, it's a bit outside of my comfort zone. It's not in the Microsoft stack, but it's some type of database that is gaining more and more traction because they allow to store and query temporal data very easily without making things too complicated, which often are in relational traditional databases. So it's a nice space to observe.
And is there also a little bit of developer angle in your talk?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're having demos and examples. I will show how to use setup first of all, and then use the time series database. I will use InfluxDB, and I will show how to write queries for InfluxDB, and I will show how to use it and extract the best from this technology.
Well, that sounds really interesting. So they're really missing out. And what is the best thing that can come out of your session? People start using this database or thinking about it, or what's your end game?
Well, I want to show one possibility, one more tool in the tool set for developers to start working with data from a different perspective. And this is cool for analyzing data, for storing data. So I think it has many uses. I think the end game is showing what you can achieve with this kind of databases. So I will show some dashboards and how you can use this kind of technology.
Sounds really interesting. And how do you like this Las Vegas team so far?
It is nice. I've been to a couple of gambling tables, so it recreates the atmosphere. I love it.
And talking about Las Vegas, of course, Elvis is part of Las Vegas, and there are rumors that he's here somewhere. Did you already spot him?
Oh, well, not yet, but I'll keep my eyes open.
Okay, if you do find him, send him over to us as well.
Absolutely, will do.
Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon. Welcome here on Techorama. Please tell me, who are you? Introduce yourself.
So my name is Rik Hepworth. I work for a software company in the UK called Black Marble. I've been an Azure MVP for about 9 years now, and I'm also a Microsoft Regional Director. And in my day job, I help my customers move their applications to Azure.
That's interesting. So I may presume that your session was about Azure?
Good guess. Yep, absolutely. So about this time last year, some friends of mine who are also speakers were in a WhatsApp group. And I was asking some questions about this migration project we were doing. And they said, hey, Rik, that'd make a really good conference session. So I've been talking about literally war stories of taking a big enterprise app we wrote for a customer and how we tackled the migration of that into Azure from a real world perspective, what worked for us and how hopefully we tackled it successfully so other people can learn from that.
Wow, that's interesting. But can you give one example of what the problems that you faced with doing that?
So I can tell you that the big key takeaway that we learned that I tell everybody now is the first thing you should do is instrument your application while it's on-prem. And I don't mean turn logging on and that kind of stuff, but put telemetry in like application insights so you can see how much memory it uses, what activity does it undergo, how many requests a second if it's an API, what I/O, how does it perform, what the bottlenecks, because that knowledge of how it performs on-prem is really important as you start to move to the cloud, because you want to compare, right, to make sure you've not made things worse. Yeah. And if you do that, lots of other things get an awful lot easier, because as you start to hit problems, you've got that understanding of how it did work, and you've got the telemetry to show you what's gone wrong.
Wow, that really sounds like a good idea. I agree. And after that, is every application possible to bring into the cloud, or are there examples that you can tell, well, just leave them on premise?
So I think you can move almost everything to the cloud, but some applications have anchors that are going to be problematic, right? So for me, the anchor was BizTalk. And BizTalk in the cloud is expensive because you've got to put it in a VM. So what I always say is you need to look at the application as a whole. You need to work out what are going to be the easy things. You need to think about whether they can give you quick wins to run hybrid, put the things that can move in the cloud, use that to give you time back where you were operating virtual machines, trying to run the application. And that then can give your developers time to focus on the thorny problems of the bits that there is no easy cloud migration path for. You're going to have to rebuild, re-engineer. And that then means that we over the project that we were doing, we could say, well, we know that BizTalk's going to be painful, but actually getting our APIs and our services into the cloud is going to be pretty straightforward. So we'll focus on the quick wins, we'll get that done, and then we've got enough stuff in the cloud that now we can turn and say, right, what are we going to do about that 500-pound gorilla that's sitting there trying to hide behind a chair and move that to the cloud? But I've never hit a customer problem where we've genuinely said that's not going to move. But it is fair to say that sometimes you go, moving that is going to be more expensive than rewriting. And at that point, what you've got to do is look at the code base and say, what can we reuse? What can we take from what we've already got and port into what is effectively a new application? So the key thing really is to take your time and investigate and understand the applications you've got. Look at where those problem areas are, assess the scale of the problem, and then it's the good old faithful total cost conversation, right? How much will it cost to migrate? How much would it cost to greenfield? And frankly, have we actually looked a way to find if somebody's done this as a software as a service and we'll just buy in and not bother in the first place, right?
Well, that's a good example. Thank you so much. And what do you think of the atmosphere here at Techorama this year?
So Techorama has always been one of my favourite conferences. I've been fortunate that I've presented at Techorama Belgium and Techorama Netherlands. It's a great event. The organisation is so wonderful as a speaker because everything's taken care of. We don't have to worry about anything. We arrive, we deliver our session in fantastic surroundings with the most awesome technology. I mean, who doesn't want to present in front of this enormous cinema screen, right? And the audience is engaged, and they come and talk to you in the corridors, and the food is wonderful. I often use Techorama as a benchmark when I talk to people and say, have you spoken there? Yes. Well, if you know what that's like, then these conferences are not quite as good, but they're not bad. And I recommend it to lots of my speaker friends. It's a great event. And also I send team members here. It's a fantastic event to send your team to learn at, because there's such a variety of great topics and wonderful speakers that you can either focus on one particular area and go deep, or if you're like me, I've been flitting from topic to topic all week, just trying to learn about lots of different things and talking to so many different people in the speaker lounge to meet new friends. It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, I agree to that, and it's a good example. Send your team here, send your team members to this conference. Hey, and this year the Las Vegas team, we heard rumors that Elvis is also somewhere here. Did you already get a chance to meet him?
I have not already seen Elvis. That makes me slightly nervous. But it's great, isn't it? I was so disappointed that I missed the space-themed Techorama. So I'm really pleased that I can see there's a robot sliding past on the screen that's behind us with the Elvis quiff. It's great, right? It makes it fun. Yeah. And that's what tech should be. Learning should be fun, because if it is fun, then we'll do it more, and that's what we all need to do to progress our careers. So if I see Elvis, I'll be saying thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, thank you so much for being here and speaking to us, and we hope to see you at the next conference again.
I hope so too. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Goedemiddag, dag Maarten, welkom. Wie ben je, wat doe je?
Ik ben Maarten, zoals je zelf al zei, en leuk om hier te zijn. Ik ben hier op Techorama om te spreken over C# Nullability, maar in het dagelijkse leven ben ik gewoon developer advocate bij JetBrains.
JetBrains, dat is van ReSharper.
ReSharper, Rider, sinds vandaag ook Fleet, de nieuwe IDE, die is letterlijk net gereleased.
Wat is dat?
Fleet, onze nieuwe IDE.
Oké. Ik kende het niet.
Ja, het is eigenlijk heel leuk als experiment voor onszelf ook. Een nieuwe IDE die we hebben IntelliJ Platform en al andere IDE's al 20 jaar ondertussen. Ja. En Fleet is eigenlijk onze kans om een keertje gewoon vanaf nul te beginnen. Te kijken waar komen we uit met de kennis die we al 20 jaar hebben opgedaan en hoe zou zo'n nieuwe IDE er nu vandaag uitzien.
Okay. En ben jij dan, we dwalen helemaal af, maar ben jij dan ook developer van dat platform of van die IDE? Of laat je dat doen? Of jouw kennis en ervaring wordt daarin doorgebracht?
Momenteel voor Fleet ben ik zelf geen developer. Hoewel dat een heel grote basis van de C# support die erin zit bijvoorbeeld wel van ReSharper afkomstig is. Dus die gebruiken we onder de motorcap en daar ben ik wel op bezig. Ja.
Daar ben je. Ja. Oké. Heel goed. Nou heb je hier een sessie gedaan over, wat zei je nou? Want dat heb ik even gemist.
C# Nullability. Dus sinds C# echt zit er Nullability of Nullable Reference Types in C#. Zodat je toch een beetje veiliger kan gaan bouwen van je C# code. Om nul te vermijden of null reference exceptions te vermijden. Zodat jij weet wanneer dat er een null reference exception zou kunnen gaan gebeuren en je null check zou moeten gaan doen in je code.
Is dat belangrijk dan? Ik bedoel, 0 is toch 0? En dan doe ik er toch een try-catch omheen?
Try-catch eromheen, dat gaat zeker werken, maar het is natuurlijk beter en sneller voor je code om niet te veel exceptions te hebben. En vooral voor je mede-developers, of dat nu mensen in je team zijn of mensen die je software gaan gebruiken of je library gebruiken, om hun het toch iets makkelijker te maken en geen try-catch nodig te hebben op die punt.
Daar heb ik toch hele dikke design documenten voor?
Ja, natuurlijk.
Gekheid. Wat hebben ze nog meer gemist? Want ik ken jou als iemand die altijd hele vrolijke en grappige sessies doet. Wat hebben ze nog meer gemist?
Ja, het is natuurlijk een droog topic op zich. Het gaat over C# Nullability voor een volledig uur. Dus ik heb eigenlijk geprobeerd van een intro te geven van waarom zou je dat nu willen gaan gebruiken inderdaad, zodat je niet die try-catch nodig hebt. Ja. Dan even onder de hood gekeken naar de intermediate language die eronder zit. Puur om te tonen dat in C# eigenlijk het echt een C# feature is. Als je F# gebruikt of VB.NET, dat je er helemaal niks aan hebt, dat je met die info niks bent in je C# code. En ook om te tonen dat mensen die jouw library gaan gebruiken, als zij nul vrolijk erin stampen, dat nog altijd gaat werken. Dat het echt puur een design time hulp is voor jou, maar dat je nooit runtime nul safety kan gaan afdwingen daarmee.
Ik denk dat een heleboel mensen iets missen doordat ze... Ja, ik zou dus een try-catch eromheen zetten. Niet goed, maar het zou beter moeten.
Ja, inderdaad. En dan het derde deel van de talk was eigenlijk over alle andere dingen die je nog kan gaan doen. Nullability, ik weet niet of je het ooit al geprobeerd hebt, is typisch. Na een string bijvoorbeeld zet je een vraagteken en hop, die string mag 0 zijn. En soms niet. Maar een groot deel van de talk is ook gespendeerd aan het feit dat je meer fine-grained kan gaan werken. Stel dat je een property hebt die wel 0 kan returnen, maar geen 0 kan ontvangen. Dat kan je gaan doen in C#, andersom ook. Je kan dingen gaan doen zoals een string dat is null or empty. Kan je eigenlijk aan de compiler gaan vertellen van kijk, deze methode doet onderliggend ook een check voor 0. Dus dan weet je als je binnen een if-blok zit dat je geen 0 gaat hebben. En dat je zo de compiler kan gaan helpen en dat je die ook kan gaan helpen om daar geen warnings te gaan geven. Ja.
Kijk, als je er niet bent geweest, dan had je dit kunnen... Nou is, je bent ook crewmember van Techorama, dus niet je eerste Techorama, sterker nog, je bent al 100 jaar volgens mij betrokken bij Techorama in al zijn vormen daarvoor. Het is 2 keer in Nederland, ook weer bij betrokken uiteraard. Wat vind je van het thema? Dat heb je zelf bedacht.
Het Las Vegas thema is super. Het enige nadeel is dat we hier aan de ingang en op heel veel plaatsen in de venue Viva Las Vegas hebben spelen. En dat kruipt als een oorworm in je oren.
Ja, dat kan ik helaas wel, maar dat is niet anders. Dat is helaas wel. Nou hebben wij gehoord dat Vegas, daar hoort Elvis bij. Dus Elvis zou hier ook ergens zijn. Heb je hem al gezien?
Ik heb hem nog niet gezien, tenzij jij het bent undercover.
Ja, helaas. Ik zie er wel zo uit. Dikke buik, maar ik ben het niet.
De vetkuif mist nog.
Nou, na vandaag is mijn... na vandaag is mijn haar best vet. Goed, dankjewel. En we zien elkaar vast in een volgende event weer terug. En succes met het nieuwe idee. Dit was het einde van een volle dag, volle 2 dagen Techorama.
2 dagen Techorama.
En tijdens die 2 dagen hebben we alle interviews die je hiervoor hebt gezien hebben we opgenomen.
Ja.
Dank aan alle sprekers die zo vriendelijk waren om bij ons langs te komen om geïnterviewd te worden.
Vrijwillig en wel.
Vrijwillig en wel.
Ja.
En dank ook dat jullie wilden kijken. Dit is YouTube, hè?
Ja.
Like en subscribe en druk op de ringelingbel om gewaarschuwd te worden voor de volgende.
Ja, en wat ik heel belangrijk vind natuurlijk, je hebt in deze 3 afleveringen kunnen zien wat je allemaal gemist hebt het evenement. Dus wees er de volgende keer zeker wel bij.
Juist. Hou onze Twitters en socials in de gaten. Er komen nog veel meer events aan. Ja. Volgend jaar heb je vast weer een Techorama in België. Je hebt ook weer een Techorama in Nederland. Er komt nog een Future Tech aan. Absoluut. Er komt ook vast nog weer een Azure Fest aan. Er komt nog een Lowlands aan.
Het is te veel om op te noemen.
Ik probeer het.
Ja, je probeert het. Ja,
en ik ben
te veel om op te noemen. En dan gaan we er eentje vergeten. En dat willen we niet. Dus kom gewoon op een van die evenementen. Want in person, super gezellig. Hartstikke leuke sfeer. Mooi evenement. Goed georganiseerd. Wij hebben uiteindelijk, dat is het uitsmijten. We hebben uiteindelijk een interview met Elvis gehad. Alleen mochten we hem niet opnemen. Dus
hij wilde het niet.
Nee. Dus, maar geloof ons, hij was er.
Hij was er.
Absoluut.
En wil je het niet geloven, kom je volgend jaar maar terug.
Absoluut.
Toch?
Mee eens. Bedankt.
Dit was hem.
Dit was hem.
Tot de volgende keer. Subscribe.